Hello, everyone, and welcome to Executive Encore. This is the podcast dedicated to empowering and inspiring women just like you as they navigate the exciting possibilities of remastering their life and work in their Encore years. I'm your host, Patricia Muir, and it's my privilege to be here with you and with my guests this week. Each week, we connect with incredible women like my guests who are redefining success and embracing change and creating the lives filled with purpose and impact. We also invite men to join us in the conversation as our allies and supporters as we grow through our Encore years. Our programs and conversations are designed to support and guide women just like you through the complexities and the joys of your Encore years, helping you to build a future that truly reflects who you are. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome a special guest, Sandra Rives. Sandra is a transformational authenticity coach and therapist with over 18 years of counseling experience. Known for her deeply intuitive yet practical approach, Sandra empowers women to reclaim their boundaries, rediscover their voice, and lead with unapologetic authenticity. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, blending evidence based therapeutic frameworks with soulful coaching, Sandra guides her clients through profound personal transformations, helping them to shed conditioning, embrace self trust, and step boldly into their power. Her work is a testament to the belief that our greatest power comes from our deepest authenticity. And I'm so excited to dive into this topic with her today. Sandra, welcome to Executive Encore.
Thank you, Patricia. It's an honor. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, it's my honor, actually. Thank you for joining us. The pleasure is all mine. Your work is so deeply aligned with what our listeners are experiencing. That is the transition from a structured and demanding life and career to something more personally defined. Let's start with the concept that you introduced me to about what I found incredibly powerful, and that is what you call the silent erosion of self. Can you
Yes.
explain what you mean by that and how women can begin to process of the process of reclaiming their unique self underneath or beneath the conditioning?
Yeah, the silent erosion of self actually starts from a very long time ago, since we were in childhood. And the thing about the erosion of self is that it's so insidious.
Mm,
It permeates into every area of our lives, but we don't know that because we've been conditioned so heavily.
mhm,
So our authentic self that lives within us is almost lost because of all these conditionings and all these values and belief systems and perceptions that we are taught by others.
mhm,
So, the real self, our authentic self, is often not shown to the world. And
mhm.
instead, we wear masks to fit the occasions that we are presenting ourselves
Right,
in. And
right.
like Carl Jung says, that's the persona. Yeah. And we often don't face our shadow selves, which is why there is a split from our shadow and then our authentic selves, which is the
Mhm,
real us.
mhm,
So yes, it is very unconscious. And, this niche, people might think that it's a simple thing, like they break it down. I often say my niche is to help people reclaim their assertiveness and their boundaries, their healthy boundaries. And people
mhm.
say, oh, so that's just people pleasing. Yes,
Oh,
it is people pleasing. But but what people don't realize is that it happens to a lot more people, and it happens to all of us at some stage. It depends on our awareness of self as to whether we let it propagate or we begin to identify that, hang on a minute, this is not really how I feel. And that's where I teach somatic intelligence as well, the
mm,
ability to feel and sense in your body when something's not right instead of cutting
mhm,
it off. I feel stressed. My neck feels sore. My shoulders feel tense. Oh, don't worry about it. That's just part of, No, it's telling you something.
Mhm. As you were talking about, the awareness, I was thinking about for our audience,
Mhm.
we might wake up one day in our 50s or 60s or beyond
Yeah.
that, and
Mhm.
gone has the structure has gone that's more or less kept us in, or kept that mask on us. So I think that reclaiming of yourself starts with a quiet awareness when you're making a
Yes.
transition like that. Is that correct?
Yes, so it can start in many ways. So, for me in particular, and for a lot of my clients, it starts with, I guess, starts or ends with, okay, a situation that happens, and you're just being you. You're just being, what you've always done without realizing, and that's the
Mhm.
people pleasing. Okay,
Mhm.
so for me, it was like, I'm always asked, when was that pivotal moment, blah, blah, blah. The pivotal moment was when I discovered that there was a couple who was really close to me, and they had asked me to do something way beyond what normal people would ask. But I did it. I did it because, at the time I wanted to be a good friend. I wanted to be someone who was reliable to them, someone they could count on. But only later to realize, as I was asked more and more, that resentment was
Mhm.
beginning to build in my body. And that was because, to tell you the truth, I had the words in my head of like being taken advantage of. Now it's
Mhm.
getting too much. There is a point, there is a limit, and you know it. Everybody feels that limit,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
it's whether you're so conditioned
Mhm.
to push beyond that limit and go, "Ah, I'll just do it, what
Mhm.
the hell, but and that's what I did, only to find that I resented them. I resented myself. I was really angry. Um, I actually did sort of confront them a little bit and try to explain myself, and to no avail. So that's when it made me stop and really think. But you know what's more profound than that? It was not just that incident. That incident was a catalyst or whatever,
Yeah.
but was once you realize and you look back into all those times that you just people please. And there was some really significant moments in my life that I chose, and I'm not proud to say this, to stay small. I silenced myself in meetings. And the funniest thing about this was the fact that it was all about my product. Can you imagine that? But because I didn't feel enough, I
Mhm.
felt like a fraud, okay? Because
Mhm.
I managed to do something that I didn't have any training in, I didn't have any experience in. I'm actually talking about my passion project, Red Opium by Sandra Rives. It was a ready-to-wear fashion collection that has gone overseas. And in fact, one of my modest collections is in Miami. Okay, but
Mhm.
the thing is, it was a passion project. This who you're talking to now. This is what I love: coaching and counseling. It's always been me. It's innately me. Okay, but those were, and that was one of the passion projects that I felt that I had to prove. Again, I had to do these various businesses to prove that I was more than.
Mhm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, my father's voice was always in my head, like prove to me, so
Mm.
that's what I did. And because I had managed to do that project successfully, but without a lot of know-how, so not no training, no experience, okay, um, it was as though I was a fraud, even though I was doing it beautifully. So I silenced myself because the inner confidence was not there.
Mm.
And I allowed people to step over and above me. And now looking back, I just think, oh my God, what was I thinking at the time? But this
Mhm.
is what happened to you or anybody, like I'm talking about generally men and women, particularly women. Okay. um, when you are not living in your authentic, aligned self, and you don't have those healthy boundaries,
Mhm.
um, you know, and you feel almost as though your voice is not enough. It's
Mm.
it's insidious,
Yeah.
and I think people need to be more aware.
Yeah. So there's quite awareness. I can see this as being like when you have that awareness, it's like a gentle excavation. And I think you mentioned that to me. It's not a demolition, it's like a gentle excavation. And I just love how that's phrased. It removes the pressure to have it all figured out. This leads perfectly into the role of boundaries, and I'd like you to talk a little more. We do hear about boundaries quite often now, but I think there's some misconceptions there. You call them the gateway to authenticity. So, talk a little more about why boundaries are crucial in this gentle excavation that we're talking about, especially for women who have spent their lives and careers being accommodating to other people and other things.
Okay, so I'm going to put it in a very simplistic way. Okay, so imagine that there's your inner house. Okay, so there's your self worth, it's inside you. Okay, so that's your inner architecture. So
Mhm.
the blueprint are your values, like values, belief systems, perceptions, all those things. Okay, so they create the foundation. Now, in a normal house, right, you would have structures that would protect your house, like walls and a door, a solid door, and some people even have an extra gate, right? So, we live in the house, we're protected. And for people who have healthy boundaries, we have one key, okay? And we decide when to unlock that door or that
Mhm.
gate to allow people to come in. Now, if you've decided to cook or sleep or or watch even Netflix for a little while, you're not going to, you've planned that time. You're tired, you lack energy, whatever. You're not going to want people to barge in. So you lock that door and you're secure and you're safe within your space and you allow people to come in and out because when and as you wish, when you unlock that door. Now, people who don't have boundaries, it's very simple. Your door or gate is equipped with a sensor, and that sensor, anybody can walk in and out because it senses like body heat or a person there. So there's no lock. So people can trespass into your house whenever they wish. So if you're taking a shower, if you're, I don't know, reading a book, they can just decide to walk in and you do not have the protection, that layer of, you having you're empowered enough to say, no, this is not the time. I will attend to your needs, but maybe tomorrow or this afternoon.
Mhm.
I've, it's as simple as that. It's as
Mhm.
simple as allowing people to go in and out. And what will happen, if you don't have healthy boundaries, you will actually also, you see, because when we choose, right, we've got the key to allow people. Those people that we allow are aligned with us. Yeah.
Mhm.
We feel comfortable with them. And when we
Mhm.
feel comfortable with people,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
often because we feel how genuine they are. There's rapport and we feel a sense of, connection, right? So not having boundaries and allowing anybody to come in and out, even people who are not aligned with us, okay, who we don't really feel comfortable with,
Mhm.
but we've learned to put this mask on, let's say if they're work people, this mask on, or if they're neighbors, this mask on, when we talk to them, we allow them to come in.
Right.
And then what happens? You get tired, you get resentful of yourself and them, and you don't invite aligned relationships.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Now
that
those
is simply as simple as that. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to mention like the different types of healthy boundaries. So, like
Mm.
there's the physical that I think many of us can relate to, and
Yeah.
especially when we are comfortable with people. Um,
Mm.
Even those physical boundaries, it might be more comfortable speaking to them about it versus someone we're not comfortable with. But there's also the emotional boundaries as well.
Yes.
And even the boundaries around our soul, right?
Correct.
So, and it's not just people, is it? Like it's boundaries. You mentioned Netflix. Like I think of Netflix sometimes, like sometimes when we binge, right? We get onto
Yes.
a topic that's not good for that healthy boundary that we want to set up for ourselves. Like
Yeah.
we want to have a calm life, yet we're watching something that's very hectic or very like crime shows or something like that,
Yeah.
right? When we
Mm.
get so it's not just about people and physical boundaries, it's those healthy boundaries that we set for ourselves. And uh, the more often that we honor those boundaries, the more self-trust we are building within ourselves, correct?
Yes. Very, very much so. Whatever, you see, this is the thing, it's self-awareness. Once you are aware that these boundaries, who create, I mean, if you didn't, you were the one who created or did not create the boundaries, lack of, or you have too many boundaries. So it all begins with a quiet self-awareness.
Yeah.
So you pause, you reflect, and then you reframe. And if necessary, you sit in the discomfort of your truth.
Mhm.
It's when truth comes up for us, it's emotions, feelings. It's not often comfortable
Mm.
uh, because we're not taught to sit in that sphere and really feel and digest those feelings.
No.
So it's becoming aware. But my course, like I've got two courses. One is Unapologetically Me and Unapologetically Rising, which is a shorter course. Now, the Unapologetically Me is it's about, I've structured the course in such a way that we go back to the foundations, to the root cause of. I feel that when people understand when, why, and how, they've developed certain values, perception, beliefs, conditioning, the inner
Mhm.
child trauma, the voices that we hear that perhaps are not us, like
Mm.
the voice of a primary caregiver, mom, dad, or whoever. Yeah. That's when conditioning starts, and that's the erosion of self, and so on and so forth. And that's when lack of boundaries begin, because children, we crave attachment. It's survival. It's a coping mechanism.
Mhm.
So if your early caregivers were very inconsistent in their love, and for example, love was very conditional, children, even pre-verbally, we can feel and we can see, and then we adapt ourselves
Mhm.
to achieve that love, to achieve that acceptance and belonging. Because without belonging, we'll die. As children, we don't have the know-how to survive. We depend on everybody.
Mhm.
And the thing is, it's often very sad because when we reach out to these adults for a belonging or love, it's often conditional, and especially for women, when there's different sets for women, different set of rules for women, different set of rules for boys. Boys, be assertive, be ambitious, go for it, speak your mind. But for girls, no, be nice, be gentle, be ladylike, you know, you need to care for people. Don't be selfish, and then we internalize these aspects and these so-called belief systems, and we grow, and it doesn't serve us sometimes in our adult world, but we're not aware, and this is the thing, self-awareness is the start of everything.
Mhm.
um, and we once we're aware, that's when the reflection begins, and we learn to filter. So it's a filtering system of what works for us now in our, in these very important years of our life, when we've already achieved, skill sets, we've already achieved lived experiences, vicariously, and through ourselves. We've achieved training. We've got all kinds of qualifications.
Mhm.
We've gone through relationship, friendships. We've done a lot, and
Mm.
this is the time when we pivot, like you say, and we reset, and we can, because all we need to do is not to, we reclaim our inner self, our
Mhm.
authenticity, then we lead more purposely.
Good,
Once
good.
you understand.
Yeah, I think we begin to realize that in this time of our life. Some
Yeah.
of us get the message fairly quickly, or others are still a little concerned. And here's one of the concerns that you've spoken to me about, and that there is a myth that boundaries push people away.
Hmm.
Um, you support the truth that boundaries don't create distance, they actually create clarity, and that relationships that crumble, especially at this time of life, uh, is when you set boundaries that weren't respected. Uh, they they were never respected, and that's why those relationships change, because it was rooted in compliance, similar to what you were saying about conditions, right? So you think of some friendships that there was a condition that you be available, but now you want to take back that time. And like I have uh, a boundary for myself that is Sundays are non-negotiable. So,
Hmm.
that's time for myself. That's time for my home, to make sure that my home is set up as a sanctuary for that day and supports me during the week. So it was difficult at one time to express that particular boundary to a person, especially if we had a long weekend. This friend would say, "Well, you can have the Monday as your non negotiable." And I had to explain to her that no, my Sunday is my non negotiable. I don't negotiate with myself, I don't negotiate with anyone else. That's what my Sunday's about. So it did cause a little bit of a rift, which was unfortunate. But then I realized that the boundary that I had, it crumpled because it would crumble if I did not stand up for myself, first of all. And actually, that person was not honoring my boundaries. So that told me something about that particular person that I hadn't noticed before. But it was when I
Mm.
asserted that boundary, I realized it was all about what she wanted to do, not about,
Correct.
and she wanted my company to do it, right? So that's fine. That's what friends are for. But if a friend has a boundary, like, let's honor her boundaries, right? So I went off on a little bit of a rant there. But could you address this about the myth of boundaries that push people away?
Yeah. So, okay, I want to go back to you and your podcast. Okay, so you gave me, okay, your guests and all your guests, certain rules, right? You told us to do certain things, to prepare this, to prepare that. Now, there was a lot of clarity, all right, and those were, for lack of a better word, your healthy boundaries of what to do, what not to do. You're trying to give us instructions and explain you don't want this or whatever it is, right? So suddenly, what happens? A person like me, I respect that. I understand you. You're clear. Okay. So, and because I am a respectful person who likes clear instructions and values, and believes in
Mhm.
people's values and honor people's values, and have a lot of respect for people, I'm very happy and to honor whatever expectations you have given me, and perform them for you. Make sure that everything's aligned, and you're happy as well because you're having me as a guest. So that's an example of someone truly aligning with you, respecting you, and still wanting to be your guest. Okay, at your on your terms. Okay.
Mhm.
So if I was rude, arrogant, dismissive, thinking that, I'm the best of the best or whatever, I will just disregard, maybe follow some of what you say and just disregard everything else, right? So you're not going to be very happy. So this is the thing. We don't push people away. We encourage, or we bring forth alignment.
Mhm.
We bring forward people who are our people,
Mhm.
who love and respect who we are. We don't have to prove anything else. Our self-worth, our belief systems will radiate and will also, I guess, with the right people, we will have a natural alignment. Why do people want fake friends or fake relationships? This is what boundaries are all about.
Mhm.
You assert yourself, and even the word assertiveness, people always, align assertiveness with aggressiveness. It's
Mhm.
not the same thing. It's speaking your truth
Mhm.
and speaking it with purpose, with intent, with clarity. And you can be gracious about your truth as well. It's
Mhm.
and how another person will accept or won't accept. It's not up to us. We can't control how other people take us. But if they are not happy with what or who we are actually, then feel free and move on. Because yeah, we will get the people who align with us.
I love what you said about assertiveness and being misunderstood, first of all, and about we can be assertive in a gracious way. And I think many of us do not have the language, or we don't feel we can be gracious, or how we're expressing ourselves can be gracious. And so I think that's a great place for us to talk about how we would work with someone like you. The key insights that I'm taking away today, first of all, it's important to reframe that gentle excavation rather than it being a demolition of ourself. An awareness and a gentle excavation. The other one is that setting boundaries. They're not walls, but they are. You mentioned it. You mentioned a gate. You mentioned a key. So it's
Oh,
a gateway to honoring our own worth, right? And finally, that expressing our healthy boundaries in a gracious way gives us an edge on authenticity. I think all those things are aligned very well. So I want to thank you for being with us today, Sandra. And I just want to have a chat with the listeners for a moment and say, thank you for joining us today as well for another episode of Executive Encore. Please subscribe to Executive Encore wherever you get your podcasts. I'd be so grateful. Here's my gracious request. I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review, because that is going to allow us to share this kind of information and these topics with other women like you in our community. For more resources to join the conversation, please visit my website, read the blog, tell you a little more about this week I'll be compiling a blog based on what Sandra has been talking about. And then on Sunday, Sandra will be featured again along with the video on November 30th in the newsletter for subscribers and members. Also, you can still contact me by email for information about the new membership and community, Executive Encore Network for Women. And when you subscribe to the newsletter, you will also receive VIP access to resources from other guests, but Sandra's resources as well. So, Sandra, I know you have an offer that you want to present to anyone who's watching. So it's the general population, but I just want to let subscribers and members know that there's a special offer for you when you go into the newsletter this week. So Sandra, please let us know what you would like to offer to the listeners today.
okay. So I've got a kit. It's called Unshakable Boundaries, Unapologetically Me. So if they would like to know, I give tips, daily tips, and also I give sort of more information. It's mini training actually on assertiveness and setting healthy boundaries. Now, all you have to do, all your listeners have to do is just email me at info@sandycoach.com, and I'm sure you'll be providing that
I will.
information.
I will.
Yeah. And they will get the information, which might prove helpful for a lot of people who
Mhm,
are either not aware or are struggling at this period
mhm,
in time.
mhm.
So that's my gift to your listeners.
That's very gracious. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, Sandra's also let me know that she'd like to offer something special for my subscribers and members. So you'll be able to see that in the Sunday newsletter on November 30th. All links, Sandra's links and my links, they'll all be in the show notes. And so remember, this is where your executive encore begins. This is where you start to live, work, and lead differently with self trust, which can be complemented by our own personal work on healthy boundaries. So until next time, take care of yourself, do what's best for you, and don't jeopardize what you've built for yourself. Bye bye.